Welcome to Community Crypto on Point Desk TV. I'm your host, Isaiah Jackson, and this week we are discussing how Bitcoin and cryptocurrency can benefit the younger generation. I'm joined now by Naja Roberts, founder of Crypto Blockchain Plug and the Crypto Kids Camp, and Belinda Coulter, founder of Innovative Learning and the Bitcoin Summer Camp. And as well, she is my mother. So full disclosure, I am on the board for Innovative Learning, but I wanted to have her on for the interview just so I can get away with calling her Belinda for the next few minutes without getting in trouble. So welcome, ladies.
All right. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And Naja, congratulations on being featured in NBC News. You just finished your Crypto Kids Camp in Inglewood, California. Tell us a little bit about the age range and some of the activities that you did last week.
So we have, and thank you for having me on, Isaiah, by the way. Always a pleasure. We just finished. Our children are ages 5 to 17, and we did all sorts of things from teaching about cryptocurrency, the blockchain technology, just really children acclimated to what what emerging technologies hold. And so we did all sorts of activities.
Absolutely. And don't hold back, Naja. There's a lot of other stuff you did too, I know, as well.
No, I want to leave it open so we have some showtime going. I don't know.
I understand. She's being modest. Naja has introduced so many amazing projects. But so Belinda, aka Mom, you have the Bitcoin Summer Camp coming next week. So what impact do you think this summer camp will have on the kids in Charlotte, North Carolina?
I think it will have a great impact because, of course, Charlotte is like the second banking center in the world. So most of the kids here have parents that work in the bank. So being able to give them an alternative to what they've probably heard their parents talking about from the banking aspect will help to broaden their horizons for what is in the tech world, cryptocurrency. And then we had a young lady here in the 5th grade who already had a portfolio of some other investment options. And we were talking to her about Bitcoin, and she was just elated to be able to say, oh, well, I can add this to my investment portfolio. And she's in the 5th grade. So I think it'll have a big impact for our kids here.
Absolutely. And we love to see it. Kids starting early. And of course, camps can, push that along. And Naja, I wanted to ask you, what were some of the challenges in putting together a camp for kids?
One of the biggest challenges that we've had, of course, is because Bitcoin, blockchain, all these things, emerging technologies are so new. Just really getting the exposure to the parents so that they can understand why it's so important that their children get involved in emerging technologies. So I would say one of our biggest challenges have been inner city, just introducing the program and how it's going to work and how it's going to benefit the children. But I think we've kind of figured out what we need to do in that respect, because it's, when somebody's never heard of blockchain or Bitcoin, like how do you get them to even allow their children to come and participate? And so, we've just really been on a mission to just educate everybody so that they are looking forward to sending their children with no reservations.
Oh, yeah. And it works both ways. You want the parents to know and the kids. And Belinda, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about that? Parents learning as well as the kids in the summer camp about Bitcoin?
I think it will turn some families around, actually, because if the parent knows about blockchain and cryptocurrency, of course, this can start a legacy for their whole family. So the parents really need to be involved so that they know how to steer their children when they're learning about blockchain, and they themselves are learning, so that now they can take the helm at working through gaining knowledge about cryptocurrency. So I think it's very important that parents are in the room as well, maybe not at the same time, but the virtual room. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, we have the parents, when they get involved, we can start the generational wealth talk. And, long term, that's what this is about, right? Not only just the parents, Naja, why don't you tell us, who were some of the people who helped supported the camp? Some people from the outside who were not parents or, related to the students.
Yeah, so we had a lot of volunteers that came through to assist us. most notably, our board of directors. We have a good group of board of directors that some of them flew out to help and help out at the camp. So just big props to them for that. But companies that have come in thus far are Odua Coin. That's actual cryptocurrency coin. They come in every year and make sure that our children have Odua Coin and are earning. We have Sky Coin that we mine. Our children are mining Sky Coin. And so we've had those types of companies that have come in to just really offer just some education about the different projects. And I think it's important for the children to not just know that Bitcoin is awesome. We know that that is our staple, but we also want them to understand like the different types, and that some are used for utilities, some are some are
Right.
used as money, so that they understand the difference. And so those type of sponsors coming in have been great because they really are champions for whatever their cause is. So it's worked out.
Oh yeah! Shout out to the sponsors, and I love the fact that they are supporting at this level. And Belinda, I wanted to ask you talk a little bit about the partnership with BitGive and how they were able to help with donations to the camp.
Sure. So BitGive is a nonprofit as well, and they're kind of like a GoFundMe for the cryptocurrency space. So we were able to put together this project using the BitGive platform so that BitGive enthusiasts and investors were able to give donations freely and know that their money would go for what they were wanting it to go for, is for children to learn more about cryptocurrency. And I also want to give a shout out to a lot of the Charlotte meetups who are Bitcoin cryptocurrency warriors, who also are calling in and saying, hey, what kind of help can I give you? Can we come? Can we hang out with the kids? Or what can we do to make this successful? So there are a lot of groups here in Charlotte, and I've been getting some information from them. And, they've been contacting me to see what they can do to help us out. So we have a nice support group here as well.
Oh yeah, and it's always good to see the local people rally around the kids because we want to create that pipeline, right? You start as a kid at a camp, one day they could be the CEO of the next Facebook or Google, right? So love to see
Absolutely.
that. And Naja, a lot of times people discuss, whether or not Bitcoin is possible to teach the kids. In the future, where do you want to see these camps go? Because I see it going long term. What do you think about the camps? Do you think they can get bigger? Do you think they can expand nationwide? What do you think?
Well, our plan right now is to absolutely scale. So we're looking at our next 5 locations for winter 2021. We should have 5 different locations, actual spaces such as this, because this was a space that was given to us by the Port of Los Angeles. And so the 5 cities that have already identified a space for us, it's just time for us to build them out and really get our program going. And we're should be later this week or earlier next week, prayerfully, be working with Disney to actually put our online program out there. So that's what we're working on right now, just trying to finish that up and make sure everything goes good. So that's where we are.
Oh man, that's beautiful. I mean, partnering with Disney, the locations expanding nationwide. And, I've seen you when you started Naja back in 2019. Glad to see that it is expanding across America because every kid deserves this type of camp, right? So we want to make sure we have that. And Belinda, I want to ask the same thing. Where do you see this camp expanding as well?
I'd really like to see it expand into the school system. In fact, inside of the curriculum for our school system here in Charlotte, there is a financial literacy piece that they've included and in the math curriculum. So I would love to be able to start to offer these classes, cryptocurrency classes, to the principals to expand that financial literacy piece, because now that's been added into the math curriculum, especially our middle schoolers and our high schoolers, so that they can get a jump on these things and learn about them and be very well versed to go out into the financial world and have a lot of flexibility in what they want to do with their money. So, yep. So I'd like to see that in the school system.
Oh yeah, and I love that. With you being a teacher for many years, a lot of people don't realize this, but in the school system, it's really hard to break through with new curriculum. It's almost impossible. Yep. So we can get Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, us three working together, and others. We could definitely get it out there to the kids. And I have one more question for you both. Naja, since you have the most experience with this, I wanted to ask you first. You have taught both adults and you've taught kids. Which group of people do you think is easier to teach about Bitcoin and why?
Children. I'm finish the question. The children are the easiest because first of all, they already games where they're using different coins to buy different things, so they're processing it better. But then they don't have to relearn all this stuff that's been in their heads for 40, 50 years. We got to unlearn that with the adults, but the children pick up on it right away. It's an incredible experience with these kids. I just know that if we can really do this properly and we all work together because we all have a common goal, and we really do this for our communities, these children will outperform and surpass almost everybody that they come in contact with in the years to come, because the workforce is changing and we've got to really make sure that they're ready, able to
Yep. And the subject matters that you're teaching, Naja, in your camp are great, because we're literally teaching kids things that they don't have jobs for yet. Like, we have to prepare them for things we can't see. So different time period, and I think it is easier. So, and Belinda, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the catalysts for making it easier for kids? Is it gaming, like Naja said, or some of the digital stuff they're not used to? What have you seen in over the years teaching kids versus adults?
Definitely kids are easier. I agree with Naja, because like she said, being able to, children are more open to new and creative things. And so they grab onto it so quickly that you're moving slow compared to what they're already ahead of you. They're already thinking ahead of the game. So I would definitely say being able to grab them early and then have them to work on different jobs that they can think about now, where they would use the skills that they're developing. Especially from a middle school aspect. It used to be in high school we were talking about careers. Now we're all the way back in the sixth grade talking about careers now, and starting to help have our students and our kids become prepared for, like we said, those careers that haven't even been created yet. So we have to get them started early, and we have to get them to where they understand what they're doing, and they can be, like my colleague said here, heads and shoulders above everybody as they're going into the world. So, yep, absolutely.
Oh, yep. So, hey, it's unanimous, because I think the same kids are much easier to teach than adults. They always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but kids, they grasp onto it real quick, because they're real quick. They're in gaming. They play Roblox and Fortnite and other games, and they understand digital money. So, I think getting that message to them is a lot easier. And I think the pipeline we can create will come as a result of them learning now. So glad to hear from you both. And, just to finish up here with you both, I just want to say, Naja, if you could give some information about the camp as far as in the winter time, as far as signups and what you're planning for that time.
Yes, sir. So you can, everybody can always reach out to us at cryptokidscamp.org. Again, cryptokidscamp.org. We will be in San Pedro. We will be in the Bay Area up in Oakland in the winter. We also have plans for Memphis, Tennessee, Atlanta, and Miami as well. So we will be doing those 5 camps in the winter. That's what our plans are. So we're interested in any and everybody who wants to join in and help be a part. We'll get you fingerprinted and get you out here and have you help us with our children. That's first. Safety is first and foremost. So we appreciate you on.
Absolutely.
I'm coming to visit.
Yeah, make sure. Yeah, we both are.
Yes. Looking forward to it.
Oh yeah. And when will the camp start in Charlotte, Belinda?
Monday, July 12th, we're kicking it off for a couple of weeks, and we're excited. Kids are excited about it. And so we're ready to go. But we're still going to push for more kids to come and hang out with us for that those couple of weeks to learn, and from the expert here, my son, and I think they're going to actually really have a great time. It's going to be good.
Oh, yeah. And there you have it, people. Make sure you sign up. If you have kids, you want to get them into Bitcoin summer camps. You have Inglewood, California on the West Coast with Naja. You have Charlotte, North Carolina with Belinda Coulter, Innovative Learning. So make sure you get your kids signed up. And thank you both for coming onto the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Isaiah.
Coming up next, we have a philanthropist and venture capitalist who will discuss why it's important that kids learn about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Welcome back to Community Crypto on CoinDesk TV. I'm your host, Isaiah Jackson, and this week we are discussing how Bitcoin and cryptocurrency can impact the younger generation. I'm joined now by BARCOTT, co-founder of Double Time Capital and donor to the Bitcoin Summer Camp in Charlotte. Welcome to the show, Rai.
Hey, great to be here, Isaiah.
Oh, yeah, great to have you, man. Oh, yeah, North Carolina all day. Glad to have you on, brother. And, first, before we start, tell us a little bit about your background working with nonprofits and, how you came into the Bitcoin space.
Yeah, thanks for that. I've had a blessing of being a social entrepreneur. I got my start in entrepreneurship in Nairobi, Kenya, where I was, before I was going into the Marine Corps. I founded a nonprofit organization that actually continues to this day. It's going to turn 20 years old this summer, which is really a great satisfaction. And this organization invests in talented young people in the Kibera informal settlement in Nairobi, and then does really important public health for the community. And the most important thing about this, and the reason why it's been successful as a volunteer from my end, is because the community owns it. And, what I found when I was, 19 years old and in this community was a fundamental truth that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. And so I partnered up with some very talented folks, and we got a lot of good work done there at Carolina for Kibera. And so over the course of my last 20 years, I've started a number of different organizations, including Double Time Capital, which is an impact investment firm. We invest in solar farms around the United States and other things. And so just great to be here with you, and really looking forward to being a small part of the new camp in Charlotte. For our young people learning about this new and emerging industry.
Absolutely. And, how did you get into Bitcoin? Was it something you learned from a friend or research? How did you learn about it?
Yeah, I was super interested in how Bitcoin was accessible to communities around the world. For example, in Kenya, there are large transaction costs if you're going to wire something, or you're also trapped by whatever the local currency is doing, or there are a lot of things that are sort of outside of your control. And so the emergence of a global cryptocurrency that is accessible to people around the world and 24/7, I think is really empowering, and was something that I wanted to be a part of. And so I started dabbling a little bit, as we often do, and then got in pretty deep over the last bit.
Oh yeah. So we're pushing together social impact, social changes with Bitcoin, which is great to see. But even that trickling down to kids, right? As a fellow father, how do you teach your kids about Bitcoin, or have you got them into Bitcoin at an early age?
Yeah, I mean, I just think financial literacy education is so important. And with Carolina for Kibera, our nonprofit in Nairobi, we've got a girls' center called the Binti Pamoja Girls Center, and it focuses on a curriculum of financial literacy. And what we see is that you don't necessarily know how to save or what investments are, interest rates are, but once you actually have a little bit of skin in the game, and each member, and these are young people that are living in a community where the average income is less than $1.50 a day for many households. But if they're empowered with a little bit of resources and some education, they can begin to own their own lives and have agency and power. And so that's what I try and do with our kids too, is just expose them to the world and see that, don't take things for granted. You can get a lot done in the world if you have the type of mindset of, hey, I understand how money works and value works, but you're also frugal and stay hungry. And so that's what I like to be a part of things like that. And I'm looking forward to participating in the camp.
Oh yeah, and going to the camp in a second here. You mentioned financial literacy, and financial literacy is lost among a lot of adults, at this point. But even moving down to the kids, the younger generation that's coming up, we have a chance now to teach that financial literacy, as well as teach them about emerging technologies like Bitcoin and blockchain. So I want to get your comment here. What does the future hold for students who decide to learn about Bitcoin and blockchain technology now in something like a summer camp?
Listen, I think it's like one of the most exciting spaces. I mean, you hear about how it's difficult for young people to break in economically into new industries, especially when there's, during COVID, et cetera. This is in the path of progress. There's a famous quote that, there's a tide in the affairs of men and women. And this is one of them. And what's super interesting about it is that you can contribute no matter where you are in the world, as long as you have an internet connection. I know there are a number of folks that are really working on improving broadband access in other parts of the world. But you can get yourself growing and find that incredibly fulfilling and empowering, and frankly make some money doing it, which is great.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure parents love to hear that. Hey, I don't have to give my kids allowance, or if I do, I can give it in Bitcoin, and they'll be well off long term. So, any parents watching this is a great industry to get them involved in, right?
You know what's cool too is you took donations for the camp in Bitcoin, and we got our first contribution for Carolina for Kibera in Bitcoin like 2 weeks ago. And so from somebody that was international, right? So they didn't pay the wiring fee. They didn't, it went straight in, and that's pretty incredible. And again, like empowering.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And again, people don't realize it yet, but I think we're starting to get that impact with something like the Bitcoin Summer Camp in Charlotte or the Crypto Kids Camp in Inglewood. And from your standpoint, a lot of times education isn't looked at as an investment tool, which it's crazy to think about. But as someone who works in the venture capital space, what could you tell other VCs about funding educational sources like this at the Bitcoin Summer Camp?
Yeah, I mean, this is where it starts, right? And the thing is about investments is it really is kind of a club. I mean, that's why I think so many people have been so excited by models like Robinhood and frankly, like are getting into crypto who have not been investing traditionally in the past. It doesn't need to be a club. As long as you have credible, good education and from people that you can trust. And so this is, there's something else that's really interesting about educating young people, and that is if you think about voting. Like I'm involved right now in an organization that supports veterans who run for office. Well, with voting, if you vote between the age of 18 and 22, you are like dramatically more likely to vote across like for the rest of your life. And so it's a similar thing. If you learn the principles of financial education and frankly empowerment, and you do that early, you have like a huge leg up and you've got this momentum. And that's what we have an opportunity to do here with this camp.
Oh yeah, and not just like you said, momentum going forward, but basically a pipeline to some of these bigger companies, right? If you have a kid, let's say 12 years old at a camp, learns about Bitcoin, sparks that interest, they get into tech, coding, and move into sort of the blockchain industry. These same companies that were funding camps could essentially have their own employees in 10 years. You know what I mean? You're basically investing in the future. So speak to that a little bit. Do you think other companies see it as a pipeline, as a way to get students to either work in the industry or for their company?
Yeah, they really should. And that is, and you've got an opportunity as a company to help shape this. you participate in it in the early stages. And so I really think that's an incredible opportunity. I frankly don't see many traditional companies yet having wrapped their head around, how significant an opportunity this is. So you have a lot of incumbents that are coming into the space, and frankly, that's when you have the most opportunity for entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs. So if and I don't think that's restricted by age, by the way. I mean, when you think about folks that can make a big impact, you can, it's not limited to being 30, 40 years old, right? I mean, you can get started in your teens, and this is a great industry to take your first foot into.
Mm-hmm. And yes, as you said before, a lot of the financial literacy that people didn't learn, venture capitalists are, not, I don't think they are aware of how much impact this can have. All of these steps to where I think we can have sort of a future where kids can get involved in technology and Bitcoin. And in that future, do you see your kids, or even thinking further along, grandkids, do you see a future where they use the current financial system, or do you think Bitcoin and blockchain technology will be the standard?
I think there's going to be a hybrid throughout my lifetime. I do think Bitcoin is really powerful as both a store of value in the Western cultures, but also as a means of transaction, particularly in to the developing world. And I think that method, the cryptocurrency in general, is incredibly powerful and is going to be a major part of our lives going forward. So yeah, I really do think that we're in the early stages of this. I really do believe that this is, if we might not even be at the first inning in terms of sort of growth and maturity of the industry. And obviously, it's a roller coaster too. So be careful out there, right? Don't go crazy. But that's a basic tool of financial literacy, right? Is like teaching kids about, hey, portfolio allocation. And you can think about portfolio allocation if you have like $1, right? Just divide it up. My co-founder with Carolina for Kibera was a nurse, and she took a grant. I gave her a grant. I didn't have a lot of money. I was a college student, but she took a grant for just 2,000 shillings, which was $26 at the time. This is back in 2000. And she started a business. She started selling vegetables. She was undercutting her competition, developing some savings, and then she pursued her dream, started a small medical clinic. And that clinic today is a hospital, and it treats over 30,000 patients a year. And that started with $26, right? But $26 in the hands of someone that is remarkable, has a lot of talent, learned financial literacy. I mean, she knew it, right? She knew the cost of that cab ride, and how much a hawker's license would cost, et cetera. So those are really the building blocks, and I think that's one of the great opportunities that we have here.
Oh, yeah. And again, I would like to say, full disclosure, I am on the board teaching the Bitcoin Summer Camp, and BARCOTT is one of the donors. And because you have donated to that camp, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, kids will be taught, they will be impacted by the technology, but do you think parents, how important is it for parents to also learn what their kids are learning? Because I know for a fact, my grandmother and my mom, they couldn't really use a cell phone until I taught them. So I think kids may have that same impact with their parents. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah. By the way, my dad might still not use a cell phone. I go back to this, just life-changing experience I had before the Marine Corps in Kibera, Nairobi. And one of the principles of the organization, which was not my idea, it was my co-founders who grew up in the community, was that when our scholarships, we're only going to give a scholarship if the parent is invested in some way. And that doesn't need to be a large check, but they need to be invested. They need to be brought into it, because, those of us who have had two loving parents, we're so fortunate. And that is such an important role that parents can play. I think it's awesome that the Bitcoin Camp is going to help teach and educate parents as well as their students, so that they can get up the curve together and do something together. Because that's really one of the most enriching things about being a parent too, is doing things with your kids and growing and learning with your kids. So yeah, I think that's terrific. And if it's all right with you, Isaiah, I'd love to just do one little shout out here to the person that connected us, Mike Novogratz, who of course is his own big figure in the industry. And we know this, but maybe not everybody else does. But has a little interest in Bojangles. So I wish I was in North Carolina, which is shooting this film, so that we could be eating some Bojangles together. But I mentioned Mike in part because he's also done really awesome work in criminal justice reform. And that's part of what I love about this space, is that you have a lot of people, a lot of doers, a lot of the builders in this space who are incredibly philanthropic. They're entrepreneurs. They built things themselves, and they're giving back. And at the end of the day, giving back is not selfless. It's actually in your self-interest. When you give back, you live a more fulfilling life. And so right. I'm glad to be a very small part of the Bitcoin camp. And let's grow and build this thing.
Absolutely. And yes, definitely shout out to Mike Novogratz and any other people who have the same mindset to impact social change, impact kids using Bitcoin, using technology. I love that, going forward, we have the support of somebody as big as a Novogratz, as big as yourself, right, BARCOTT. And I love that you came on the show today, told us about, exactly how you can impact the industry. I'm sorry you have to cut it short, but thank you for coming on the show, right?
Awesome. Great to be here with you, Isaiah. We'll see you in a couple weeks at the camp.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll see you there, man. That's it for this episode of Community Crypto. Every week, we're building a global community with local crypto groups. So be sure to tune in at our new time on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on CoinDesk TV. See you then.